So if you're joining me for this, we're going to do a few back bends and then work our way into the end of our practice. So last video we ended here. Go ahead and take your forearms out in front of you, palms flat, elbows right underneath your shoulders or a little bit in front. We're going to do Sphinx pose here. So press the tops of your feet into the floor. Lift the kneecaps a little bit off the floor and then pull forward and up. 5 deep breaths here. Drop those shoulders down. Take that heart through. Engage the core a little bit to protect the lower back. And then go ahead and just shake that back out just a little bit. Relax here. So a few little cobras here as well. Go ahead and take the hands underneath, right alongside the chest. You're going to inhale up and back. Lift the hands off. Exhale down. Inhale up and back. Maybe you keep the fingertips on the floor. Exhale down. Maybe you lift a little bit higher. Exhale down. Go ahead and take your hands alongside your hips. Inhale, lift into locust pose. Feet come off the floor, shoulders roll back, palms reaching back, toes reaching back. And then exhale, hands around. Once again, take your forehead to the backs of your hands, shake the hips out. And then go ahead and take your left hand, kind of kitty corner across the edge of your mat. Reach around, grab hold of that right foot and bring that heel in as close to your hip as possible. So if this is a lot for your shoulder, you can always walk it in or out, or take a strap and pull it in, or just even reaching for it will help kind of stretch out that front of the leg. Drop that down. You're going to switch sides. Go ahead and release that down. Palms underneath the chest. Come all the way back up and come and take a seat. So take your feet out in front of you. Shift your hips a little bit side to side. If you are like me and your hamstrings are a little bit tight, you can take your heels a little bit further apart, knees a little bit bent. You're going to inhale up nice and tall, arms up overhead, and then exhale, fold forward. I like to grab the tops of my feet or the outside edge of my feet because that makes sure that they don't flail out at all and drift out to the sides. Maybe you find after a few breaths, you can lift up and then exhale, take that belly down further. And then inhale, come all the way up. Take that right leg out flat, left. You're gonna reach inside the knee and kind of pull it in so it tucks in. Shift that right leg out just a little bit further, okay? Inhale up nice and tall. You're gonna exhale, start to fold over that right leg. So take your left hand to the outside of the right calf or shin and turn and twist. Try to press this opposite knee down a little bit. And then inhale, slowly come all the way up. You're gonna switch. Take that left leg out, bring that right foot in. Shift that left leg out just a little bit further. Make sure the toes are pointing straight up. Turn yourself toward that left leg and fold. So take the right hand to the outside of that leg so you get that twist in there. And start to kind of use your inner thigh muscles to press that right leg toward the floor. If you're all the way to the floor on that knee, don't worry about it, but it does feel good to engage that side to help balance out. I always feel like if you just kind of hang out there, you're losing part of the posture. Maybe one side is not as open as the other. That is definitely true for myself. And that's just the way it is. Sometimes the other side will be the not open side. So it depends a lot on how you slept, the stress level, what you've been doing lately. Inhale, come all the way up. Go ahead and take both feet out. Engage. Take your hands behind you and just sort of lean back a little bit. Lift the chest. Maybe wag those feet around a little bit and then flex the toes, press those legs into the floor. I always find forward folds, especially seated ones, very challenging and very humbling because they don't get very far. So go ahead and come back up to center. So if I were not to push myself at all, this is pretty much where I would get. But what I do is I kind of start to fold myself forward, use a little leverage, maybe ankles, shins, think long spine, try to get a little deeper in there. Maybe I reach my toes, maybe I don't. But I don't want to curve over and hunch and drop my nose toward the floor. I want to find long spine, okay? So think of it sort of like a ramp. Maybe after a while you don't need the leverage, you can take your palms out flat. Or maybe you're someone who can fold all the way to the floor. If you are someone who can fold all the way to the floor, just remember a couple of things. Remember to keep your toes flexed very firmly and keep pressing the backs of the legs really firmly into the floor because you want to engage those muscles. Even if you have that flexibility, you can work on stability and strength. And then walk your fingers all the way back up. Reach inside both those legs, bring them together, come into bound angle. So I like my bound angle a little bit further out from my hips. If you like yours closer, go ahead and put those heels wherever you feel good. If you are someone who gets your knees all the way to the floor, great. Hate to say that. But I do not. And if you're not, if you're like me and those knees are not going anywhere, this very well could be the case that your body just A, isn't ready to, or B, your bone structure makes it so that's very difficult for you to do. So you can't fight bone structure. So lift up nice and tall and then exhale, walk yourself and fold forward. So see if you can use a little bit of that inner thigh strength to kind of press those knees toward the floor. If you're already at the floor, then sort of, once again, use that engagement in the inner thighs to build strength there. Pressing outward into the floor. Once again, think long spine. You can wrap your fingers around your toes, lift up and lengthen, then exhale, fold down. I always try to look out a little bit ahead of myself so that I don't crunch. This keeps me from rounding my upper spine too much. I want this stretch to be in my legs and my lower back. My upper back gets lots of love from back bends and twists, so it doesn't need any more hair. And then inhale, come all the way back up. Bring those knees together. Take those feet out in front. Wheel them around a little bit. Maybe do a little foot clap. Okay. And then go ahead and come onto your back. Back where we started at the very beginning of the series here. Walk those heels in a little bit closer. Take those knees and feet hip distance apart. Make sure your toes are pointing straight. So you would see a line between shoulder, hip point, knees, second toe. Tuck the shoulder blades underneath. So how I do that is I kind of lift up, tuck them around, palms flat. One other way to do it is to take your palms facing in, lift and tuck, and then take those palms flat. On an inhale, lift your hips and come into bridge pose. So if you want a little bit more engagement, make sure those shoulders are working. You can take and keep those palms facing each other, fingers up, shift a little bit of the weight onto the shoulders, but keep your neck long. So don't turn to the left or to the right. Look a little bit above and over your head so you have a nice long neck. Bridge is an inversion, so it's one of the things that works really well at the end of a practice. It is also a back bend, but I look at it more as an inversion practice. Your heart is above your head, so you get that renewal of blood supply to your brain again. Exhale, lower those hips down nice and slow, hands down to the side. Walk your feet hip distance apart and just take the arms out to the side very gently, windshield wiper side to side. Oh, they went my back. I often find that's the case in this pose. So when you next get over to the left, go ahead and drop those knees over to the left. Both shoulders are stable on the floor. You can take that left heel and put it on top of the right thigh. So it'd be the bottom heel onto the top of the right thigh. So you get a little bit more stretch down the right side body. If you want even more twist, you can turn your head and look over your right shoulder. Turn your head back to center, take that heel off, come all the way back up nice and slow. You're going to exhale, drop those knees over to the opposite side. Same thing here if you feel like you want to do that. You're going to take that bottom heel, the right heel on top of the left thigh. Turn your head and look over the left shoulder. Feel that opening down the TFL, IT band, outside edge of your hip. And then inhale back to center, take that heel off, come all the way back up to the middle. Maybe some gentle rocking a little bit side to side here. I always like to end my practice with the last posture being either a twist, and in addition, maybe just a little bit of pelvic tilting here today. So take your hands to your belly. You're going to press the lower back firmly into the floor. So you're going to tuck the belly button to the spine all the way down to the floor. And then exhale, just arching around the back like cow tilt. Cat arch on the floor and cow tilt. This is great if you have some lower back issues or back is feeling a little cranky today. And then allow that back to come back to neutral. Neutral for you is different for every person. You can take your Shavasana with your feet wide apart and knees together. Tuck the shoulder blades underneath. Or you can take the heels out to the corners of the mat. Arms out to the side, palms up. Press out through your heels. Get nice length in the spine. Lift your chin, look at your toes, and then drop them down. And we're just going to be here for about a minute. You can always take longer in your Shavasana if you feel like you have that time, or maybe you just really need a longer Shavasana. I always recommend at least 10% of your practice be a Shavasana. More if you can, right? Begin to notice your breath again, the inhale rising up, and the exhale going down. Taking a moment to check in with your body, seeing how you feel now. It's good at every point in this practice, in this playlist practice, whenever I have a few moments where you're breathing in either mountain pose or child's pose or seated, that you should always take a few breaths to check in with yourself and see how things are feeling, how you're feeling. Not just physically, but maybe mentally as well. Take those little breaks and use them to sort of find center. last deep breath. Maybe this time you exhale through your mouth. Very slowly bend your knees, bring the bottoms of the feet flat. If you have more time, please take more time for your Shavasana, but if you don't, go ahead and roll over onto your right side. Take a couple of breaths on your right side, and then come up to whatever seat is best for you. You can keep your eyes closed or half closed or open, and take your palms up or palms down onto your knees. Allow your shoulders to relax, but engage and lift through the core so your spine is nice and long. Bringing your hands to your heart, I wish you the best day. Peace and namaste.